Hello and welcome to ESPN Cricinfo. Gloves off, I am Ronak Kapoor. A huge debate sparked in cricket after Ashwin Mankading Jos Buttler in the IPL match between Rajasthan Royals and Kings 11 Punjab. The aftermath too has everyone divided, including Brad Hodge and Deep Dasgupta, my guests on the show. Our topic for debate today, Ashwin getting slammed for Mankading Buttler, rightly so or undeserved? It's time to hear opening statements from both Brad and Deep in our first round, First Blood. All right, Brad Hodge is going to go first. Hodgie, 30 seconds for you to make your opening statement.
Yeah, well, for me, the important thing is that the spirit of the game is most important to be upheld in cricket. And all the captains signed an agreement before the start of the IPL tournament. And this is the first man cap that's happened in the previous decade of IPL. So for me, it's an ugly precedent. I think that the issues for me is that Jos Buttler was not actually trying to gain an advantage. And Ashwin has actually pre-planned this before he's delivered the ball. It's a tough interpretation, but I never actually thought that he planned to actually release the ball at all.
All right, we've heard from Brad Hodge. It's time now to hear from Deep Dasgupta. I think you have a slightly differing view. Deep, off you go.
Yes, I do. Well, for me, I think it's important that you stick with the laws of the game. Yes, spirit of the game is important, but I think most importantly, as long as it's legal, you're keeping the spirit of the game going as well. As far as Ashwin was concerned, listen, Jos Buttler has been out this way before as well, so it's not the first time he's got out that way. So Ashwin was well within his rights to get Jos Buttler out when he was out of his crease. Well, could he have warned Buttler? Maybe he could have, but he's not obligated to do it. And some people choose to, some people don't. And well, that's as far as I go.
It's time for our next round, Trading Blows. Now you can have a go at each other, given your differing views on the issue. Deep.
Right, okay, so my question for Hodgie would be, you mentioned spirit of the game. Yes, we keep talking about spirit of the game. Can you please define spirit of the game?
I've never actually seen the law of what spirit of the game looks like, to be honest. But look, there is a document, I'm sure it is, and that's I guess to uphold the spirit of what cricket is, and that's I guess pastime is a gentleman's game. That's something which you would not teach your son to do. So I don't think that it's the right thing in this attitude.
My issue is if a batsman, in this case, maybe the intent wasn't there as far as Jos Buttler is concerned to take that extra advantage or undue advantage, but he was out of his crease at that point in time, and the rules suggest, and it
that
is
he's
again,
entitled to.
He's entitled to. Again, the rule is a little vague, but having said that, Jos Buttler, who's got out in that fashion before, Ashwin has got somebody out in that fashion before, should be aware of it.
But I think that in the replays, it clearly shows that Ashwin's back foot has landed, he's about to deliver the ball, and yet Buttler is still in the crease as that happens. So your assumption is that when the ball's released, you're trying to gain an advantage. Now he's timing his run as he's thinking that the ball's going to be released.
that is not Ashwin's issue then that is the third umpire's fault. As far as Ashwin is concerned, he did what he had to, whether it was out or not out.
I don't think that's the right thing to do, because I think he had every intention. If you have a look, he slows down to make sure that Jos actually gets out of the crease.
So he's trying to deceive him, is what?
Correct. I think he's deliberately thought about this for a long time.
Yeah, that wicket. That's the wicket I want.
But you know what? Having said that, I mean, if you look at the few deliveries previous, in that over itself, Jos Buttler was out of his crease every time at the point of release I'm talking about, not before it. So maybe when you're saying yes, he was looking for it, maybe he did. He realized that he was doing it, so he did it.
But in some ways,
the
point is on that very ball, at the point of the delivery stride, at the point of
you
release
mentioned
of the
about
ball.
the pause. Now you can take it. I mean, you can look at it the way you want to. You can think about pause as if he was waiting for Jos Buttler to get out, or you can think about it maybe he was hesitating.
Well, I think you'll find now that a lot of bowlers will actually be holding onto the ball a lot longer because you assume the point of delivery is there.
Right.
If you actually let it go there, by that time you're actually out of your crease, you can get run out. There's no way in the world at this point in time Jos Buttler is trying to get an advantage through deception or cheating. That if you think a centimetre is gaining an advantage, then I'm not.
Listen, obviously, in this day and age of third umpire and replays and everything, every millimetre counts. Jos Buttler can very well say, listen, I was expecting that the ball had already been released.
Right.
So I won't say Jos Buttler is wrong, but having said that, Ashwin is not wrong either.
Is it an act of desperation by Ashwin, given the match situation, specifically for this?
I think it's a bittersweet victory. I mean, I really think those 2 points are tainted, really, in my opinion.
All right, and there are strong words like disgraceful and whatnot. Are you calling this a disgrace? This sort of backlash on Ashwin, you can say that
it can't be disgraceful because it's in the laws of the game.
So it's unsportsmanlike.
It's very unsportsmanlike.
You're saying it's okay as long as it's within the law. Ashwin has no guilt of this, and you wouldn't mind it either.
I mean, I wouldn't. And my biggest issue with this is the fact that it's always the bowler who comes under the fire and not the batsman who's actually.
Would you do it?
What?
Would you do it?
I've never bowled.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a little breather now and involve one of our viewer questions after listening to this feisty discussion between Brad and Deep. It's time for timeout. Right, we've got Tushar Jadhav on this episode from Mumbai, and he's been listening to Brad and Deep. Tushar, who do you agree with? What do you think?
Yes, I completely agree with Brad Hodge that such sort of Mankading should have not happened in the Rajasthan-Punjab game. What Ashwin did in that game was clearly not in the spirit of the game, and the laws are pretty unclear about it. If the batsman should be warned first in such incidents, and even after that, if the batsman does it, and I think the bowler has the right to then mankade him. But I think it's not in the spirit of the game, and the rules should be very clear and specific by the ICC.
Okay, since he's agreed with Brad, I'll give Deep the chance to react to that.
We keep talking about spirit of the game. Somebody needs to define that, because we still go back a long time, because it's an oldish game, and we think about the gentleman pastime as Hodge mentioned before, and where people played the sport just as pastime.
Yeah, but why have a law which is supposedly contrary to the spirit?
End of the day, when something is vague, as you mentioned, you then fall back on the law, and if the law says that, indirectly or directly, you'd say, okay, you've upheld the spirit of the game because you're going by the law.
Okay, let's have concluding arguments now. It's time for our last round, knockout take. Closing statements?
See, what I make of it, I think what Ashwin did was well within the rules, and I wouldn't be surprised if this happens after this as well, and more bowlers do it, and it is fine. I think it's an eye-opener for the batsman to figure out, how long you're supposed to stay inside the crease, and it's also important for the lawmakers to kind of get a little more clarity as far as the law is concerned, because it's very vague. I can understand what Jos Buttler was trying to do there. I don't really want to penalize him for what he did either, but neither would I want to penalize Ashwin. And another important thing, it's about time. If this is going to happen again and again, it's about time that we get a name for it and not Mankading, because Vinu Mankad was a legend of the game, one of the best all-rounders that at least India has ever produced. I think he deserves better than that.
Okay, Mr. Gavaskar agrees with you. He thinks it should be named after the batsman.
Yeah.
Bill Brown, and not after Vinu
Billy
Mankad.
Brown, yeah.
Let's call it Brown instead of Mankading. Oji, your last 2 words on this.
Yeah, I agree a little bit with Deep actually on that sense that there's a little bit of confusion within the laws of the game, and there's some greyness. For me though, there needs to be a little bit clarity on whether you actually physically think you're going to deliver the ball as well. I'm not sure in this instance that Ashwin had the clear intention of doing so. Josh Buttler, there's a good lesson for you. Keep your eye on the bowler or the bowler as well. So for all the young kids out there, that you learn your lessons very early. But for me, it just doesn't look good on our game. It's not a dismissal which probably should be actually in the game. I think it's something which should be looked at. It's not a clear dismissal and not a clear interpretation of how the dismissal should happen. So MCC, get busy at Lords, have a look at your laws and review it and come back to us.
All right, many thanks to Brad Hodge and Deep Dasgupta for that rather engaging debate. You can continue, you don't need to get on one side or the other of this. We can continue to agree to disagree on the Mankading law as well as on the law to run a batsman out if he's backing up far too much. And where you stand with Ashwin or Buttler, what do you think? Put your thoughts and comments in the comment section, and do write to us if you'd like to feature on a future episode of ESPN Cricinfo Gloves Off.
Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and leave your comments in the comment section below. Click on the bell icon for notifications.